Hey, Jason.
Hey,
It's
buddy,
really,
how are you?
really good seeing you. I work with Jason on the Jason Barger podcast, and I had a question for him. We just wrapped up season 2. Do check that out. It was phenomenal. We're very excited. And so my question was, how did you feel? Uh, this was such a wild time, as you said, scary time, serious time as well with COVID-19. But during this time, you were actually at a cabin secluded, just on vacation, just like a vacation.
Yeah.
And I had to ask you, we had an episode that was about, it was March Madness actually. And at that time it got canceled. So we had to scramble and do something else kind of in that moment. Um, what were your thoughts at that time? How do you feel about that? And moving forward, how do you kind of, what do you take? What lesson do you take from that moving forward?
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody can exactly plan for a global pandemic. So, you never know that that's going to happen. But what I'll first say is that thankfully you responded and also realized that the content wasn't exactly, I mean, now that they were canceling March Madness, um, to talk about March Madness didn't make much
Yeah.
sense. And so for us to be able to both adapt and then to say, what were some of the messages that needed to be heard at this time that people were going through and experiencing so much change, and the world was changing around us, and certainly a lot of fear and doubt for people. So um, from a creative standpoint, I liked the opportunity of being able to step back and then say, okay, well, what are the messages that we want to share with the world? And that's part of that's why I do what I do, and that's what the power of this platform hopefully is to be able to in real time then say, okay, what are the messages that people need to hear, and that authentically want to share. And so that's why you see towards the end of season 2 some of those episodes about courage sitting in ambiguity, and you see the messages about trusting the process, and what are we learning from the process of communication and leading change and mobilizing people around this big global pandemic. So I think the relevancy of those kinds of topics and then connecting it to things that I'm always talking about in terms of leadership and culture and mindset just seemed to fit.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, thank you for being flexible. We both were. We both had to pivot, like really quick. But it worked. Even being a cabin in the, in the woods, like wherever it was,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
we made it work.
I was in Montreal, and then I was in a cabin in upper state New York in the Adirondack Mountains. Now I'm in a cabin up at Lake Erie. So, we got to get creative, buddy.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jason. I really appreciate it. Obviously check out the Thermostat podcast and jasonvbarger.com. Thanks.
Thanks, Ted.